Hey guys, welcome back to this session. And in this session, we'll talk about the perform statement in COBOL. So as you know that COBOL is a procedural language and it is one of the oldest programming language which is still in use. COBOL is primarily used in large-scale enterprise applications such as banking, healthcare, and the aviation industry. And in general, COBOL program logic is grouped into different paragraphs or sections. And the COBOL perform statement is used to execute the logic which is specified in these paragraphs or sections. So in nutshell, the perform statements are used to implement loops in the COBOL program, and they are also used to transfer control explicitly or implicitly within the paragraph or section or procedure. The perform statement is divided into two different categories. First one is inline perform statement, that is perform until statement. So in this inline perform statement, the piece of code is executed multiple times until the condition is satisfied. The example of inline perform statement is perform until statement, and in the following example I've used perform until statement, and within the perform until statement I've specified the read statement. So until my condition is satisfied, this piece of logic keep on reading record from the input file, right? So this is how you can use inline perform statement to implement your business logic. Now the next category is out of line perform statement. And whenever an out of line perform statement is executed, the control is transferred to the first statement of the procedure or the paragraph or the section that is specified in the perform statement. And the perfect example of out of line perform statement is basic perform statement, that is perform followed by the paragraph name. So in the following example, what I've done is we have a paragraph that is A000 hyphen main hyphen paragraph. So this is main paragraph in procedure division. There you have a logic that says perform B010 calc hyphen total hyphen salary. So this will going to calculate the total salary of an employee, and after that you're going to display what is the employee salary. So if you notice, once this particular perform statement is executed, the control will be transferred to the paragraph that is B010 hyphen calc hyphen text. And once this entire logic is being executed, the control will again go back to display statement, right? So this is called out of line perform statement. So finally, the perform statements are used to implement loops in your COBOL program, and you can very well use them to transfer control implicitly or explicitly as per your requirement. Now let's talk about the format of perform statement. So in general, there are four different formats of perform statement. So the first one is basic perform statement. Second one is perform with times phrase. Third one is perform with varying phrase, and the last one is perform with until phrase. So in basic perform statement, the procedure referenced in the basic perform statement are executed once, and then the control is transferred to the next executable statement following the perform statement. In second format, that is perform with times phrase, the procedure referred to in the times phrase perform statement are executed the number of times it is specified by the value in the identifier or integer, and the control then passed to the next executable statement following the perform statement. In third format, that is perform with varying phrase, the varying phrase increase or decrease the value of one or more identifier or the index name according to a certain rules or condition. And in the current format, you have the facility to test condition before the execution of the statement or after the execution of the statement. And for that, you can use test before or test after option as per project requirement. And in case if you do not specify anything, then test before would be assumed. In the last format, that is perform with until phrase, the procedure or the paragraph that you have specified in the perform until statement will be executed until the condition is satisfied. And after that, control will be passed to the next executable statement following the perform statement. Now let me discuss a couple of examples so that you can understand how exactly you can use perform statement in your COBOL program. So in the first example, that is of basic perform statement, so you have perform keyword followed by the paragraph or the section name. And when this particular statement is executed, the control will be transferred to the paragraph that is A000-calc-text. And after executing all the statements which is mentioned in the paragraph, the control will be transferred back to the next executable statement, that is next perform statement, which is mentioned in this particular example. And in the next perform statement, I'm actually using the THRU option to execute series of paragraph that is specified in the section. And finally, after executing all the paragraph that belongs to that particular section, the control will be transferred back to the next executable statement. And the last paragraph that will be executed before transferring the control is C099-exit. And the same paragraph is specified with the THRU option. And remember, in case if you have two or more paragraphs within the particular section that you have specified in the perform statement, then all these paragraphs will be executed before the control will be returned back to the next executable statement. So this is an important point, and you should always keep in your mind when you are designing your COBOL program. Now let's talk about our next example. And in this case, we are using perform followed by a paragraph name. Thereafter, we have specified the number of times you want to execute that paragraph. So in this case, we have A000-calc-text, and the logic which is specified in this paragraph will be executed 3 times, right? And similarly, we have one more variant where we have specified perform through n times. And in this case, the entire piece of logic which is specified in A000-calc-cell through A000-exit will be executed 3 times. Now let's talk about our third example, that is perform with varying option. And in this case, if you notice, we have a procedure division. After that, you have A000-main-logic. So this is basically a core logic of the program, and you have two perform statement with varying option. The first perform statement will execute the paragraph B000-tbl-inc for the value of I, that is 1 to 10. And every time the condition is satisfied, the value of I will be incremented, right? And in the similar way, if you notice the second statement, second perform statement, it is also similar to what we have seen in the first statement. The only difference is that we have used with test after condition. So after executing the functionality, it will going to validate the condition. But in the first statement, it will going to validate the condition before executing the functionality. So this is the major difference between these two statements, right? Now let's talk about our last example, that is perform with until statement. And in this case, you have a procedure division where I've specified the paragraph that is A000-main-logic. So this is basically a core logic. And in that particular paragraph, I've used a statement that is perform until not end of the file. So not end of the file is actually a variable which is defined at level 88. And in between this perform until statement, I've specified the read statement. So this particular statement is actually reading your file until the condition is satisfied, right? And once the condition is not satisfied, the control will be transferred to the next executable statement, that is perform B000-PRT-sum. So till now, if you have any question, then do let me know. Otherwise, let's move on to our next lecture.